My name's Patrick Duigan. I'm the Executive Coordinator of City Placemaking at the City of Gold Coast. I have a degree in Architecture and Diploma in Project Management, which really sets me up for looking after this team. The City Placemaking is all about urban revitalisation and keeps us really busy. The reason Council established City Placemaking, it was originally called the Centre Improvement Program. It had identified that urban renewal, urban revitalisation of business centres across the city was happening on a fairly haphazard basis, and wanted something that was a bit more structured, something that had a specific source of funding, specifically ring-fenced for that work, to enable that every year there were going to be worthwhile projects happening, rather than having to go into bat with other projects across the city. So it had identified the Brisbane City SKIP program and looked at that model and felt it was fairly appropriate, and took something similar and established that back in around 2001. It had a bit of a slow start and really probably took off around 2003, when the program was properly staffed with the right calibre of people. So when we're going into a project centre, we will look at all of the aspects of that centre. So it's not just the physical, social and economic problems that are of concern in that centre, but it's what its existing character is, its history, so that we can build on those. Are there any parts of the centre that are worth saving, where there's already an element of place identity within a precinct that can be built on and enhanced? So I think of, for example, when we did the Short Street project, there were, at one end of the street, there were a couple of trees, really old trees, that had formed a canopy. When we engaged with the local community, what they envisioned for their centre was to have a canopy all the way down the street, and that ultimately led to the design solution, which installed a lot of new trees that would grow big enough to be able to form the canopy across the street, and that's occurred now. That project was completed quite some time ago, and it's now this beautiful canopied street from end to end. So it's those special elements when you go into a centre that really need to be enhanced, and that can be done in any centre, but it's not a cookie cutter kind of approach. There isn't one solution that fits all. You've got to go in, and it comes down to the level of analysis that the team's willing to put in. And my designers will spend hours and hours in a centre, walking the centre, understanding the walkability of that centre, because walkability is another key measure that's become a very popular measure of the success of centres nowadays. And globally you have walkability indexes for centres. And sadly, there are an awful lot of centres that have been so focused on car transport and what's good for moving vehicles around there, that they're not pleasant places to walk around. So all those centres will have very low walkability indexes. And that's something that, if we're going to go in and upgrade and improve a centre, we need to improve that walkability, and ideally make the focus on the pedestrian rather than on what's good for a motor vehicle. And particularly in a city like the Gold Coast, which grew up on the back of the motor vehicle, because it's a long linear city. Everyone wants to drive from A to B, even if A and B are one block away from each other. It's a habit. But the success of the light rail, which was completed in stage 1 was completed in 2014, has started to show an alternative where the light rail runs from Broadbeach up to the Griffith University complex at Southport. Started to encounter a few problems from around 2011 when the state government introduced a whole lot of legislation around benefited area levies, and they were pretty specific about the sorts of benefits that were required to be achieved, where the business owners that were going to be levied needed to be getting a very specific benefit over and above any benefit that any other surrounding properties that were not being levied was going to get. Pretty hard to achieve. The review through council determined that there was a need for a broader program through the city that allowed multiple different project types. In order to achieve that, the council agreed to an additional staff member over and above what the old Centre Improvement Program had operated with. So all up there's 8 of us. There's myself with an architectural qualification. I've got 3 landscape architects now, 1 urban designer, and community liaison business development officer who really takes the forefront of a lot of the community consultation through all of the projects, and an admin officer. So that's the team that runs all of these projects. The additional landscape architect was necessary because of the introduction of the tactical urbanism projects, because being really popular with the councillors, we ended up with a lot more of them than we'd originally, through the review, proposed that we could cope with in a year. And these are required to have a fast turnaround. They're not your normal capital project, which requires a lot of engineering design and a lot of demolition and that sort of thing. These are really light touches, a bit like just an upgrade to a centre, a really light touch, changing some of the street furniture, maybe honing a footpath or putting a paint coating down on the footpath to give it a lift, introduction of new trees and understory planting, just light, quick touch and low cost. Construction of our projects, we work closely with the City Infrastructure Department of Council, which has the engineering design people and construction unit in it. The reason we work closely with them is because working in business centres, these are centres where people operate their businesses every day of the week. If we went out to private contractors, all they want to do is get the job done as fast as possible. They're not too worried about the people who are still trying to operate businesses there. So we work really, really closely with the construction team. They understand the nature of our projects, and it's not about going in there and getting it done as quickly as possible. That at times we're going to have to work around a business. A classic one was when we did the Surf Parade upgrade 2 years ago. We stopped construction works on Melbourne Cup Day we stopped at lunchtime on Melbourne Cup Day to allow all those restaurants to have their full Melbourne Cup celebrations that day. Those are the sort of things that you can do with your in-house construction crew that we would really battle to do with an external construction company. We do the community consultation, so my community liaison officer is on the ground, walks the beat every single day, forms a really close relationship with the construction supervisor, and many times they will walk together talking to the businesses, informing the businesses on a day-to-day basis of what works are going to be coming through, listening to any of their problems and issues that they may have had. All the businesses in a subject centre always have our phone numbers and can phone any of us any time, day or night, if there's a problem. They arrive to open up their business at 6 a.m. and find that somebody left a pile of bricks outside it last night. They call one of us, we will get it dealt with straight away.